Hey, welcome to today's video log. My name is Adam. If you're first time watching this, if you're new, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. And if you make that bell ring, you'll get notified when I go live and when I upload a video. So first off, warning, I'm gonna go deep within Joker. Okay, I've seen it twice, and I tell you, I'd watch it 3 or 4 more times at the cinema. So we're gonna talk deep cuts with Joker. Okay, so if you haven't seen it, get out of here. What are you doing? Why did you click a video that said Joker spoilers discussed if you haven't seen it? And then, go watch it and then come back to this video. So there we go. That clears out a few people. So for the rest that are left, yeah, okay. So first off, like 10 out of 10. It's a great movie. Now, it's a great movie for several reasons. Not only because it's well made, it's well directed, production value, acting, music, the script, everything is 10 out of 10, right? Not only is it great for that, but for 2 other reasons. One, it creates massive talking points, right? Because of the content of the story and the way it's presented. It's like everyone's discussing it. Is it this? Is it that? Could it be this? Could it be that? Could it go on from here? Could it be a solo? And it just creates a massive talking point, right? Secondly, also, and it just, it's layered. It's geniusly layered. It's well written. Todd Phillips co-wrote it with somebody else, and I tell you, genius writing. Okay, you know what? I gotta go sit down for this because this is crazy. In fact, let's sit down here at the table, right? And I'll even put you down as well. Like we can just sort of discuss this in, right? So genius writing, right? Genius writing. So Todd Phillips wrote it, right? Let's I'll just hold you. That's a bit better. So Todd Phillips, Chucky. So Todd Phillips wrote it, right, and directed it, and genius, right? Okay, so first off, Joaquin Phoenix, right? This is like it's. I don't think it's a new take on the Joker story, and it is Joker from the comics. Okay, it's set in Gotham City. You see Bruce Wayne, you see Thomas Wayne, Alfred's in it. There's no mention of Batman. It's long. It's set long before that. It's set at a time when Bruce is like 10 years old at the very most. So he hasn't. His parents haven't died for starters, and we'll get to that in a minute. So it's set at that time period, and it kind of feels like it's set in the 70s or the 80s just by looking at the cars on the streets and the way I think it's more late 70s because the talk show very feels like a 60s still design and the way it's done. So it could be late 70s, early 80s, something like that. But yeah, so Joaquin Phoenix, all the Jokers we've seen in the past, right? And really, Joaquin doesn't do Joker until the last 45 minutes of the film, and then it's full-on mayhem. But the build-up to that is something we have never seen in a film. Maybe in Tim Burton's a little bit, with Jack Napier being the sort of Carl Grissom's right-hand man, and then gets turned into the Joker, sort of like 20 minutes into the film. This sort of happens gradually over the course of the film and doesn't go full Joker until last sort of 45 minutes, or last 40 minutes. And it's more the psychological build-up rather than just, here's the dude, his name's, a random name, and then something happens like that. Like in the Suicide Squad, you saw kind of a Joker origin story where he jumps into the vat of chemicals and that produces Joker. This is a little different. This sort of is a gradual decline or rise to the Joker character, which is something we have not seen before. And I think the genius of the writing is it's left it completely open for future films. Like, this could be a standalone solo piece, or it could go on and connect to other Batman pre-existing films as well as future unmade films. It's that layered and that genius. It just opens up the doors for Warner Brothers to go, yeah, we can go down any one route and the film would still make sense. And that's where I think the genius in the writing comes, but also in the performance by Joaquin. So he plays a guy called Arthur Fleck. Arthur Fleck, A. Fleck. I don't know if that's something to do with Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck, I don't know. But I don't think it is. But it's just, yeah, his name's Arthur Fleck. He lives with his mom. He's a very. He works as a clown for, like, clowns for hire. I think they're called ahas or something like that. And he dresses up and he goes in front of a store who will hire him for the day, and he just clowns around, and it attracts attention for the store, but also it can attract the wrong type of attention. We in fact see him get battered by just a bunch of knobs, basically, that steal his sign, beat him up, and his boss actually blames him for that event because the store was like, well, where did you go? He's like, well, I was chasing down these. Well, the sign, you need to bring back that sign. And it's like, the sign got destroyed by these thugs. And he's like, well, I'm taking it out of your paycheck, mate. And it's like, well, that's a bit harsh, dude. The guy's just been beaten up. He's got bruises all over his back. I mean, he's thin anyway, because he obviously doesn't take care of himself. And that can perhaps lead onto, like, the mental aspects of not being taking care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself physically and mentally, you'll end up like bloody Arthur Fleck, and so much happens to him, and it really is also a commentary on today's society for bullying, and the mind, the psychological effects it has on somebody who gets bullied, and what they possibly can do to sort of break out of that, or just react to a bullying situation. It really is a, guys, watch out, because jokers are being created everywhere here, because what happens to Arthur Fleck is the reason why we get the Joker at the end of the film, really. It's the reason why he then suddenly, turns on everybody and then just goes Joker, So there's 2 or 3 massive spoiler revelations in this film that if you haven't seen the film and you find out these spoilers, it kind of will take away from the impact of the film. Because that's, I think, the one thing that everyone's having is a massive reaction to this film because of its impact it's had. There's a couple of scenes which are really realistic, really horrific and graphic, and that's like, oh, it's a shock moment, and it's a massive impact, to watch. And if you know a couple of these spoilers going in, it's not going to have as big an impact. You're probably not going to react to it in the same way a lot of other people are. So stay away from spoilers. Obviously, if you're watching this, you've seen it. So one big things is that it's set in Gotham City. I think that's the nobody really knew if it was or not, but it is set in Gotham City, and set literally weeks before Bruce Wayne's parents get killed. Okay, it's like the weeks leading up to it, if not days, probably, but I think it's weeks. And the other spoiler is that it is a fantastic film. Yeah, all right, Victoria. One of the massive spoilers is that it plays with, and I say plays with because it never does confirm one way or another, and there are so many arguments both for and against, if Joker actually is Bruce Wayne's half brother. It's like, Thomas Wayne, was he doing the dirty on his missus? With what's her name? It's not Martha. I can't remember her. Arthur Fleck's Martha. I can't remember Arthur mom's name. It was like Mary or something like that. I don't know. So we'll call it. So yeah, that's right. I'm live. I missed a call. Well, I didn't want to take it. So it's like, yeah, did they do the dirty or not to create this half brother? Or, like the film does suggest as well, is Arthur's mom just batshit crazy and she concocted this whole love affair between her and Thomas, in order to feel important, and then was put in the mental institute. And there are adoption papers that are shown for Arthur, the fact that he is adopted, that he's not actually Thomas Wayne's son. And it's like, you're left wondering, I mean, it's kind of all, it's never said. Like, we first find out through a letter, you know. Arthur finds a letter that his mom is about to write, and because she used to work. The whole thing is she used to work for Thomas Wayne, so she knows. She's been to his house. She's probably even lived within the home for a while, but she no longer does because she ended up in a mental asylum, and her son kind of got took off her, or her son was beaten by the fella she was with at the time, or abused rather. It never does say kind of abuse. It chained to a radiator, and that's about it. And obviously that's going to have a psychological effect from the get go, which is the beginning of this decline to Joker. So it's never said directly, but he sees a letter which she wrote, and it says, your son, by the way, Arthur, to Thomas Wayne. And if I mean, I'm sure when it hits the home release, we're going to be able to pause because it does. There is a lot to that letter, but we don't see. It's kind of drifts down really quickly, so we won't actually know the full implications of that letter until we can freeze frame and then read that letter fully. So, but it does point out like your son and all this, and everyone's like, like when I first watched that and that came up, there was a gasp, a big gasp, within the screen, and it was like, oh, and it leaves you wondering that for at least half an hour, that Joker is Batman's brother. They're bros. And it does leave you for like 30 minutes thinking that before it then starts to eke in a little doubts by, say, Thomas, because Arthur Fleck basically follows Thomas into a toilet when he goes out to the theater. And he goes, hi. And he's like, you are Martha or whatever her name is. Penny, I think it is. Might be Penny, actually. I think, yeah, Penny. Says, you're her son. It drops. And he's like, yeah. Now, Arthur has already been to Wayne Manor and confronted Bruce Wayne as a child and shown him a magic trick. And then a guy with a beard comes up and says, fella, you're right, try to leave this lad alone. He's not Irish, but he says, you want to leave him alone. You shouldn't be talking to him. Oh, you're thingy son, right? And Arthur is in the knowledge that, yeah, we're bros. And he's like, no, you're not, mates. Why don't you leave before you make a fool of yourself? That's Alfred as well. And it's like, whoa, that's cool. He definitely doesn't have ginger hair, though. So, yeah, so then he confronts Thomas Wayne, and Thomas Wayne goes, listen, mate, your mom was a crazy bitch, and I had to put her in an asylum, and, you are adopted, you know that, mate, and, and then he punches him, he goes like, boom, and he says, stay away from my son or I'll kill you. And that was just so Batman moment. That was like, yes, that's Batman's dad right there, who cold cocked him. Boom. So it is left in major doubt, and obviously Arthur then has to find the truth. So he breaks into Arkham Asylum and steals some papers that confirm it says adoption and all this. But then after that, we find a picture from Thomas Wayne to his mom saying, "I love you, smile, TW." Now, that scene comes after a scene I want to mention because someone's had a theory about one scene just after he finds out about Thomas Wayne being his dad, and just after he finds out that he finds those adoption papers, he goes and sits inside his fridge. He just clears everything out and then goes sits inside. And this is really before he gets the phone call from Murray to say, hey, come on the talk show. It's literally the direct scene before it. I think, in fact, it's the very next scene after he kills his mom. That's right. He goes to the hospital and he just smothers her with a pillow, which is weird because evidently in another Joaquin Phoenix film, he does exactly the same thing. Kills his mom with a pillow in another film. And in Gladiator, he killed his dad. So I don't know what it is with Joaquin killing his parents. But something thread going on through his films there. So yeah, I mean, when he was in Parenthood back in '89, he never had a dad. And you never kind of really figure out what happened to that dad. So, and that kid was always in his room, sort of like never talk to anyone. And I'm thinking, did he do like a Basic Instinct there and kill his dad? But anyway, so yeah, he crawls inside this fridge just after he kills his mom and right before Murray phones him. Now, some people theorize that he actually died. He crawled inside that fridge, shut the door, which, as everybody knows, fridges are vacuum sealed, so there's no oxygen going into that thing. And so did he die? Because the very next scene is him lying on the bed. The phone rings and he answers it and he goes, "Hello." And it's like, "Yeah, we want you to come on the chat show. Murray wants you on." Because basically Murray, which is Robert De Niro's character, brilliant casting, genius casting, basically saw a clip of him in a nightclub once where he was like, "My mom told me, yeah, I wanted to be a comedian. And mom said I should get a job, Well, mom, no one's laughing now." It's like all his jokes are kind of silly and stupid, or they don't work with the audience he tells them to. Nobody's laughing. And so there's a clip that Robert De Niro plays on his show, and he plays that clip, and when he says, "No one's laughing now," then Robert De Niro goes like, "He can say that again." And he sort of makes fun of him. And so anyway, he rings him up and says, "Look, come on the show, let's have you on." Now, the very next scene after that is he's all in white makeup, right? So it's like the beginning of coming into the Joker character. And he's also, by the way, got this affliction, right? It explains where the Joker's iconic laugh comes from. It really explains it, which I don't know if it should or not, but it explains that he actually has this tic where he has this uncontrollable and it almost looks painful, where he just in weird situations he starts to just laugh, and even if it's not appropriate, and he has to carry a card around with him saying, "By the way, I've got this thing." And this woman on a bus, actually, she reads the card out. That's when we learn he's actually got a condition of laughter, not just a laughter. So it's like, I don't know if explaining Joker's laughter is a good thing. It's like moving back the curtain. I don't know. Anyway, so he's all in this white makeup, and his friends from work come round because he's been fired now from work, and his friend, or one of his friend, comes round, which is a little dude, and a big guy who actually sort of wasn't nice to him at work, and he opens the door to him, and he's like, and he sees the big dude first, and he's like, and then he looks down and sees the little dude. He says, "Oh, come on in," right? And he has concealed in his pocket a pair of scissors. And then as they come in, he locks the door with the chain, and he goes to speak to him, and it's the big dude who goes, "Listen, the police have contacted me about the subway killings because at one time, I think it's just after he lost his job, he was dressed as a clown, and there was these guys harassing. Oh, look at that! I got 13,000 days left to live. Lovely. These guys were harassing this girl, and he sort of was a bit nervous about them doing this, and then he just started laughing. She legs it. They come over and go, "Hey, what's so funny?" And one of them starts singing "Send in the Clown" song, and then they start pushing him around. They take off his wig, and then suddenly he takes out this gun that this big dude from work has given him, and then he starts shooting him. And it's a really graphic scene, and it's really realistic, and it's really good. And he kills all three, and it becomes headline news to the point where Thomas Wayne is on a chat show going, "Well, the poor people, they're all clowns at the end of the day. The guys that died worked for me, and they did nothing wrong." Do you know what I mean? It really is starting to begin this class separation between Thomas and everybody else in Gotham City. So it is almost like, even though Thomas, as we all know, is responsible for the rise of Gotham and, has done so much good for the city, in this film, he's actually seen as a right prick. He's actually seen as at the fault of its decay at the same time. And I'll get back to that in a second. So, yeah, he's killed these people. So the big guys come round the little guy to talk about it. He's like, "Listen, the police have spoken to me, about these subway killings, and it's like, I know you've spoken to him, and I want to know what you said to him." So the guys come round for his own selfish needs basically. And Arthur Fleck is like beginning to get into Joker mode, and he's like, right, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, he's playing along. And he's like, and then he just takes out the scissors, stabs the guy in the neck, stabs the guy in the eye, and then just takes his head and starts ramming it against the door frame. He's like, "Ugh, ugh, ugh," and blood spraying up on the white makeup. He's just got white face, like a clown's sad face, And he's smacking, and the little guy's going, "Ah!" And he's just smacking him, and he's like that, and the guy's dead. I mean, he's gone, but Joker goes OTT on his ass. And the little guy said, "Can I go, Arthur?" And he's like, and literally like that, Arthur just turns calm, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." And as the guy's walking past, he goes for him like that, and it makes everybody jump, and it's a really funny jump scare. And then the guy tries to leave, but he can't reach the chain on the door, and you think that the Joker's just going to come up like some sort of serial killer and just do him in. But he's like, you've never done anything wrong to me. And he kisses him on the head, and he lets him out, and the guy just legs it, right? And then he like stretches out, and then the music kicks in, dun, 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 and it's a Gary Glitter song, right? It's a dun, 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 dun. And you're like, yes, like the music is like, I'm on board with this. And then you see the Joker leaving his apartment, and he's in full Joker makeup. He's in the red suit, and he's walking down, and he gets inside the elevator, and he's sort of looking down as like he's contemplating. And it's in the trailer, and he just gives this little smile, like a smirky, like, and shit's going down. The Joker is going to unleash, and they give it to you, right? So he goes on to the chat show, and he does this amazing entrance of twirling around, really sort of like the Batman TV series Joker. He's like that kind of Joker. I mean, to be honest, we kind of see all the different types of Jokers in this film. It's really bizarre the way Joaquin plays it. We see this sort of dancing, the sort of Heath Ledger Joker on the way to the TV show when he's on the stairs and he's giving this dance thing, and it's kind of like that is kind of like the Heath Ledger Joker, and then we see the Jack Nicholson Joker when he kills his that guy at work from work, and it's like that's the sadistic side. And then of course on the chat show we see the Cesar Romero Joker and dancing on the intro, and he's like, "Why?" Robert De Niro goes, "Why? That was some kind of intro." And then they start having a talk, and the whole idea, the whole setup for this scene is that you think, because he's got a gun on him, and man, there's blood on this table. Man, there's blood here. Check it out. Look at that. The Joker's been here, man. There's blood on the table. Man, what's going on? Bit here, bit there. My gosh. Anyway. So the whole setup for this scene is that the Joker is basically going to shoot himself on the chat show. He's going to say, "Do you want to hear a joke? Okay. Well, knock, knock." And then he goes, "Who's there?" And then he goes, like that, and he blows his head off. But through the course of the interview, it kind of like, Joker's like, he begins to do, he's got the gun in his lap, sort of secretly, he's got his joke book out, but then Murray's making fun of him, right? And he sees this, and he's like, "You know what? You've only brought me on here to make fun of me." So he changes the knock-knock joke, the knock-knock, and then as sort of Robert De Niro is going, "You know what? No one wants to hear your jokes. You're not that funny." He's trying to shut him down. He goes, "What do you get when you cross a crazy, deranged man with a society that doesn't want to help him?" And then he just pulls it out and shoots Robert De Niro twice, like, pow, pow, like this. Everyone's going, "Ah!" And it is a surprising moment. You don't expect it, right? And then he goes to the camera going, "That's all," or "That's life," or something, but it cuts him off completely. And then the next thing you see is in the police wagon getting hauled away. Now, the killing of Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne coming up. Basically, an ambulance crashes into the police car. all these clowns that have been wearing these masks, all the poor people in Gotham City have taken on the mask of the clown, because obviously Thomas called them all clowns, and they're revolting against him. And so there's riots in the streets now because they've seen the Joker kill on TV because it's live. They've taken to the streets. They're causing mayhem. It's like that scene from RoboCop, right? Where the baddies with the guns, 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 and they take to the streets and it's just burning. It's like Demolition Man in the future, right? And so they free the Joker, and he gets up and he starts dancing, and then we follow this one clown go down an alleyway as this family leaves the cinema, and the guy just goes, "Hey Thomas, it's all your fault," and he shoots both the parents and leaves Bruce there, and it's like, whoa. So let me get this straight: the Joker was the sort of instigation of the killing of the killing of Thomas and Martha, which created the beginning journey of the Batman, and where Batman came from through the death of his parents. But at the same time, Thomas is directly responsible for the creation of the Joker. Now, this is getting into a little bit of biblical references of having the father with the two sons, one the angel, one the demon. It can go down that route. We've seen it before in Underworld and other films. And it's like, so Thomas Wayne basically is responsible for the birth of Gotham, and the decline of it at the same time. He is the one who's responsible. Effectively, this is now Star Wars territory where you've got, like Anakin, who is supposed to bring balance to the Force, who grows up and has two children, and that one child is going to be responsible for the birth of the good, the rise of the good, and supposedly, like, well, not in Star Wars, but the other child is supposed to bring chaos and mayhem, and it's the balance of these two children between the two, and honestly, it's basically Star Wars. So Bruce Wayne is Luke Skywalker, who redeems his father, who brings balance to Gotham City, as it were, by killing the Joker, and sort of bringing Gotham back to its former years. I think it's really layered, and this is where the genius is right. Like, nobody has picked up on this. I've not seen anybody talk about this on YouTube or even in discussions, where Thomas Wayne is directly responsible for the creation of the Joker and the creation of Batman. Through what he's done, if we're to believe that these guys are brothers, which, again, it could be taken either way. It could be a standalone film and keep you guessing forever, which is kind of what the Joker is. Or it could say, yes, they were brothers, and play with that story narrative. Like, either way, guys, this is a great film. This is the best written film. Better than Endgame, this film is. I'm sorry to say that, guys, but this film is better than Endgame. DC know how to do standalone stories like Wonder Woman, Joker. But, with their trying to create a universe, forget it. Leave it up to Marvel, guys, because they can do that as well. But I definitely would see this 10 times over, right? So that's basically Joker, spoilt completely, ripped apart to shreds. And the cherry on the cake is that Joaquin has said that he's up for more. He's up for exploring more of this character and going down narratives that have yet to be told. So, but at the same time, Todd has flatly said, yeah, this Joker is never directly linked at all to the Patterson Batman. This is never going to feature in that universe. So, an alternate timeline, maybe. Who knows? But anyway, I got to get back. I've got loads of videos to edit now. So that's me done for today. A 30-minute vlog. Oh my gosh. I think this is the longest one yet. So thanks for watching. And let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below. Have you seen the film? Like, well, of course you must have seen the film if you're listening to this now. But tell me what you thought of it, and tell me your theories for if they're brothers or not, or what did you spot in that film that I haven't discussed. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, take care. Bye.